go. Fuck.
Come on, man, we're not fucking done.
Remember that shit. Remember that, boy. Remember this. No.
We will get better, but we gotta work on ourselves first.
Welcome to Go Sports Live. I'm Matty Marshall. I got LJ Parrish here from the Los Angeles Ironmen. And my God, we have a new best team in paintball. We have a team that just won an event for the first time in over a decade. And LJ, you just leveled up. Before we get into it, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a crazy first event. Next event come up in about a month and a half. I know we got all this crazy coronavirus stuff going on, so we're crossing our fingers that we can actually make sure and get that event in. But hey, man, if you want some to change the pace, something that's not just fire and brimstone, we get to talk some paintball right now. And I'm really happy to have Parrish here on the show because, man, you fought long and hard to get to this specific moment. You've been on different teams, and we didn't know who was going to start on the Snake side at the first event here, the 2020 season for the Los Angeles Ironmen. You guys started, I believe, ranked 10th overall. Yeah, 10th overall to start the year. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, you guys are sitting at the top of the game, putting up a win with a field that we have never seen as deep as it is. So let's just jump right into it here. And I kind of want to talk a lot about your story too. I want to talk about the team. I'm going to wait for the next shows coming up because we could have a bunch of time for Phil as everyone's getting quarantined and stuff. So we could have multiple shows a week, bring you guys some paintball content. But LJ, I want to hear your story, and I want to hear the story of this event. So first of all, how are you feeling, man? You got to be feeling pretty good right now, right?
Yeah, I feel great, man. I feel awesome. Feels good to win.
So kind of just where can we start? There's so many different places to start this. Let's kind of just start with the journey of the Ironman here in 2020 and how that was with you personally. The Ironman going through a rebuild, losing a bunch of guys here in the offseason. No Kyle Spica, no Trevor Reeser, Alan Golding's not there, no Damian Ryan. You guys then pick up A-Rod, kind of almost at the last second, picking up Nick Sloviak. You were here since last year trying to earn your keep on the team. So kind of before we jump into your story and how you got on the Ironman, how was it with all of this change going on, and how was the vibe mentally on the team heading into the 2020 season, heading into Vegas?
Well, I think for me personally, I've been on 3 teams in the past 4 seasons that are all rebuilt teams. So it really wasn't anything new for me. But I think the team handled it really well. It really didn't seem like we missed a beat. We picked right up where we left off in 2019, and we just ran with it. Everyone gelled pretty well. We all play well together. So it really felt kind of seamless, to be honest with you.
It felt seamless? Really? I mean, it definitely looked seamless, but it felt seamless? I mean, you guys lost all those players. Yeah. You had all this chaos going on, and you're telling me that it felt seamless? I mean, I know you've been around the block for a bit, but that seems a little hard to believe. Is that really the case? Come on, shoot it to me straight.
Yeah, I mean, I have confidence in my teammates. I have confidence in the coaching staff and our sponsors. And I mean, one of the reasons I joined the Ironman is, for the program. Everyone buys into the program, and everyone takes it upon themselves as professional players to, be confident, be prepared, and do their job. And I don't think any of my teammates lost confidence in each other over the offseason, regardless of who comes or goes. I mean, that's going to happen, right? That people have real life, people get offers. So you kind of have to anticipate that, and, you really can't let it slow you down.
So let's talk, look at a couple reasons why I believe you guys won the tournament. Number one, Todd, though he gave everyone reps, a starting 5 emerged, and that starting 5 was playing amazing. You on the Snake side, Corey Hall on the D side, A-Rod and Nick and then Thomas Kim. That was your starting five. Now, I was impressed that everyone that came off the bench also played pretty well. I thought Peyton had a couple of nice spins when he got in there. I thought Silos Cortez also lit it up when you needed a rest. But the question heading in was that it was going to be kind of a battle for that starting time on the Snake side for the Los Angeles Ironmen, and you won that battle pretty quickly. I mean, you basically emerged as the go-to guy. I mean, did you feel that that was something that was in your head? I mean, obviously it was, but I mean, going in, like, what was Todd saying to you? What was going on in your head? Did you think that you were going to be the starter? I mean, being the longest tenured guy in the team, but these guys kind of coming up trying to, you know, get some of those reps. I mean, what was going on in your head personally, knowing this was a dominant Snake side and you guys had some new dudes that could be filtering in there? And if you had fallen off at all, that those guys were going to get in there and maybe take some of your playing time. And maybe, you know, but it was you, dude. I mean, you got the lion's share of the spins over there and you made the most of it.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that Todd gave me the amount of opportunities that he did give me in the event. Also very fortunate to be surrounded by so many talented players. I think any one of us that played Friday through Sunday would have showed up and executed. I think we're all equally talented in that respect. But honestly, I do feel like it was kind of my time. I did take the back seat last year for the majority of the events, and I'm definitely ready to, you know, play as much paintball as possible. But you know, it's just one of those things where it's not about me; it's about the team. And I don't really think I was thinking mainly about my play time as much as I was about executing when I did get the time to play. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, dude, you're saying all the right things. You absolutely executed when it came time to play. But this was a really tough Snake side. We had a lot of legends out there and a lot of guys that we speak about them as legends because of what we've seen them do on specific layouts before. But it was a rough Snake side. We had, I mean, Billy Bernacci ended up playing very well, but he was catching some early. Smotroff had a pretty long struggle throughout the event trying to stay alive over there on the Snake side. You yourself also went through a couple points in a row where you were getting shot out. Actually, that happened in the finals. I remember there was like a gut check moment for you in the finals where you got shot out early a couple times. And I remember saying, I'm like, I wonder what's going on in Parrish's brain right now, because you kind of, you didn't look down, but you looked, you know, your head was down, focused to the ground as you were walking out. And then you clocked right back in and came back out. And then that was a big transition moment. And I was just very impressed that you were able to stay composed, knowing how mentally treacherous it was on this Snake side to stay focused, because, you know, it was hard. There's lots of tons of lanes. We were, you know, it's like we always say, oh, bunker of death this, bunker of death that. At this specific event, it was an area of death. And it was that entire area around the Snake side behind it. That was definitely the area of death. So, you know, kind of take me back to Sunday and where you were at in your head, knowing how difficult it was to stay alive over there on that side. I mean, what was going on in your head as you had to go, you know, time after time again and play aggressive on a very treacherous side where aggression could work, but aggression also could, you know, get you shot off the break, and you could get shot off the break multiple times. I mean, and then you got to get back in there because you're getting the start, but also dudes are right behind you. I mean, again, this is a lot. There's just a lot going on. So what was going on in your head at that moment?
Sure. Well, like you said, it was at the end of the tournament, the Snake side of the field became the zone of death, right? Everybody wants to get into that, as Todd said, the 80-foot long snake and crawl all the way down. I think by Sunday that became obvious, right? So, you know, people were zoning in on that area early on in the game. So absolutely correct. It's high risk, high reward. Do you risk losing the body off the break? Is it necessary if you're up points to risk a body? I think when I ended up going to the Snake off the break and having a decent point after being shut out a few times, I think that was a momentum swing was kind of taking place for the Russians, and it needed to happen. So I think you could definitely see A-Rod was a big threat up the center of the field. And that's where, a lot of teams were starting to control the center of the field more, or try to control the field from the center more so than just get into the snake and go all the way down. Most of the teams that made it to Sunday were shooting those spots off the break really well. The Russians were doing it. We were doing it. Revo was doing it, and the other teams that made it to Sunday. So, every number one gets shot off the break. I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to run through lanes. You can pick the routes that you want to run to try to, have the highest probability of survival. But at the end of the day, you're playing against the best in the world. And my job is to run to the snake, and their job is to try to shoot me. Sometimes I'm going to make it, and sometimes I'm not. But that's not something to, be discouraged by any means. So definitely the snake side became the zone of death on Sunday. And, I think it was more along the lines of, you have to be smart when you choose to attack it, as opposed to giving the body up early. So.
Yeah, it was just such a crazy run, man. I mean, you guys came out and you beat X Factor, the series champs, right away. You were in a pretty interesting bracket with you, Revo, New York Extreme, and the Outlaws. It was not the bracket of death, but every bracket in the Pro Division is difficult. But you guys emerged as the number one out of that bracket. Not only did you beat X Factor in that first game by 3, but you beat them twice in one event because you got matched up with them in the quarterfinals. And we were kind of talking off camera that, man, if the Ironman can find a way to beat San Antonio X Factor 2 times in a row at the same event before they even get to the semifinals, that means they make it into the semifinals, having beat the best team in paintball last year. Then, wow, they very well could be one of the favorites at this event. But, we talk about gas pedal, and I just felt that everyone on your team had a big chip on their shoulder. You had a giant chip on your shoulder. Nick Sloviak, who got the start, he had a giant chip on his shoulder, getting cut from X Factor last year, coming back and helping to beat his old team twice in a row. A-Rod getting, the paycheck, coming over. Dynasty didn't want to pay him. Ironmen are willing to pay him. He comes over. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He did what A-Rod does. And then Corey Hall also leveled up. I look at how you and Corey Hall and what I've seen out of you guys the past couple of seasons, and you guys just burst out of your shells and became elite. To watch you play as many points as you did on a side where, pretty much every snake player in the game at every single level was, I wouldn't say struggling in a certain way here or there, but everyone was playing. It's, again, we could spend 3 hours breaking down every single one of the snake players. We're going to have a lot of time to break this all down moving forward, but it was just impressive, man. I mean, to have the Ironmen come out and win their first event in over 10 years, and to see you and Corey Hall's personal stories, and to see Nick Sloviak's personal story. I mean, even Thomas Kim. Thomas Kim was another one of those guys that that was able to get that start and just play his position and play it well. So I was just really impressed by the entire starting lineup and the way you guys went through the tournament. You beat X Factor first, but then you lose to Revo. So you go 1-1 day one, which was a little scary. And then you guys having to play New York Extreme and the Outlaws, and you murder Extreme by 6 points, Mercy Rule win, and then you beat the Outlaws 9-4. And then you guys reset for Sunday, having to play, not knowing who you're going to play because we had to finish that game in the morning. It was just a crazy weekend. So there's just so many different levels to the interesting elements of this story. But this all goes back to you and your personal story, because, when we're thinking about who we're going to give the MVP award to, and we ended up giving it to A-Rod just because he had so many kills and he was such a huge force up in that center so often. But you were like just the tiniest. You were like 2 more awesome points away from being the MVP. That's how close it was. And regardless of the kill count, like that's how close you were to getting the MVP for the entire tournament. And we were forced to think about it that way just because of, again, I want to keep you forever, but we got to build the bunker and load all the guns and stuff and stack my toilet paper for the apocalypse that's about to happen. But we got to get your story in before that does go down. So anyway, because dude, I've seen you play in Aftershock. I remember, you were picking my brain outside of a hotel in Chicago, I think it was Chicago. And that was the first time I got a chance to talk to you, but I was just a fan of the way you played the game because you were aggressive. You were trying to push the issue. And so Yeah, so like just kind of bring me through a little bit of your story, man. Like, yeah, we got you on the show. We're talking about you winning this tournament. You were this close away from winning the MVP. You just leveled up. You're one of the elite snake players right now. So, yeah, tell me your story, LJ. Let's hear it.
Well, let's see. I went on a little bit of a hiatus there for about 4 years in 08, 09. I ended up coming back to the paintball scene with Distortion. I played semi-pro with them for 2 years. Won my first national event with them. And then we ended up taking a third place, I think, in the same season. We had a couple of good years, and the team disbanded. I played another year semi-pro with a local team, TCP, out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then I was kind of at the end of my road. I didn't really know where I was going to go. I didn't want to spend the money to play semi-pro for forever. And then out of the blue, Mike Bruno gives me a call and asked if I was still interested in playing for Aftershock. And I thought, hell yeah, I wanted to play for that team since I was 12 years old. So I played a season and a half with them. Things weren't really working out for me there. Love Mike Bruno, love Rennick, but just wasn't working out. So I caught Travis Lemansky at one of the Living Legends tournaments in Chicago, and he offered me a spot on the roster, and I ended up finishing that season out with Infamous. So after that season with Infamous ended, World Cup, we made it to, I think, the quarterfinals. We lost to Heat in overtime, which was a really close match. And I got a call from Todd Martinez, and he asked me if I wanted to come to a tryout, and I absolutely was interested in that. I've always looked up to Todd, and I like his coaching style. I like his personality. So I thought that would be a really good fit. And it ended up working out. So I'm very fortunate to be able to play for the Ironmen. Very fortunate to be able to play for Todd. They have an amazing group of people around them, support system around them, from Fran and Nikki at Victory Paintball Park to the guys at Die, Chris and Devin, all the paintball, all the die techs. It's just an amazing group to play for. So I do remember my first time at Die. I'm sure you've been there. It's wrought with nostalgia, and there's, heavy legacy walking into that building. And I remember the first time I walked into the trophy room, and I was looking at all the dates on the trophies, and I think the last trophy they won was in 08 or 09. And I just remember last year thinking to myself, I wonder if we can put another one, another trophy in here, for Dave and for Todd. And we found a way to do it in Vegas. It was phenomenal. That's the best part about all of this, knowing that trophy's sitting at Die, and we can revive the legacy a little bit. That's fantastic.
Well, yeah, and the year just started too, because so you won the first event. There's 4 more events coming up, and when I was talking to you guys after you guys won, like as deep as all the teams are this year, and as good as these teams have become, and I say teams plural, all the way down to, let's think about it. You guys are ranked 10th, and you guys just took the victory, so now you're ranked 1st. The Russians are right behind you because they made it to the finals. That was a relatively close game, even though you guys got the better of them by a couple points. Then Impact took 3rd, Revo 4th, Dynasty, Damage, AC, Dallas, X Factor. So our series champs are sitting at 8th place. Heat's not even in the top 8. They won the World Cup. This is almost, look, I think we kind of get, I wouldn't say complacent, but we get used to things being a certain way. And then things slowly change. And sometimes they change a little bit faster than others. But I just feel that, and we were talking about this in the run up to this season, about how much depth there was in the pro league, about this was anyone's year. Who's going to step up and actually seize the initiative and become the dominant team? I don't know if it's going to be one team. We will see as the 5 events play themselves out. Hopefully this goddamn coronavirus doesn't mess up the year for us, but we will see how things play out. But that being said, as it stands right now, look, every single event, you win that tournament, you're the best team. Last year, Impact came out and they won the first event. Then the Russians picked up, then X Factor, and then Houston Heat stole the show at the end. So we had a very complex story that played itself out. This year, the Ironmen now, after 10 years of being mediocre and making the finals a couple times, have finally stepped up to take the victory. And, it's like people give me shit sometimes because they're like, oh, Matty's, Ironman fanboy, this and that. I'm like, dude, I played on the Ironman for 6 years. I won a world title with the Ironman. It was incredibly difficult, as anyone that's played professional paintball knows, to take a franchise that sucked and turn it into a franchise that was victorious. You just did that. You guys do not suck anymore. You are victorious, but the future is laid out in front of you, and there are just tigers nipping at your heels because all these other teams want what you have right now, and you worked your ass off to get to this point. So yeah, of course, as a fan of the game, with the longest running team that's in existence in the Ironman and the team I played for 6 years, of course I'm going to be stoked that you guys finally don't suck and won a tournament. You weren't there at the practice, but that's exactly what I said at the practice. I was like, hey, it's been 10 years since you guys won an event. It would be really nice for the guys that have been on this team before and took the Shield to historic levels. It would be awesome if you guys didn't suck. So please get out there and not play like weaklings. That's not exactly what I said, but in case there are some kids watching, I'm trying to keep it as low-key as possible. PG. But that's what's at stake, man. Every single team, every single time. Every team, every time. Revo has never won an event. AC Dallas has never won an event. Obviously, Impact, Russians, Dynasty, Damage, these are, we call them legends in the game for a reason. So, and X Factor too. So, that's how interesting this year is going to go, as long as this virus doesn't ruin everything. So hopefully society can get its stuff dialed in and we can get back to the battles. But anyway, I'm just incredibly excited, man. To see you come from a guy just getting playing time on Shock back in those days, and seeing you make the mistakes that you made, but having the heart. I remember talking to you that out in front of that hotel and knowing where you were on the field, but where your mind was off the field. And I remember leaving that. I think I went and told someone afterwards, I'm like, I really like that LJ Parrish kid. They're like, he's not really a kid, dude. He's in his mid-20s. I'm like, okay, but I really like him because he seems to have his head screwed on straight, and he seems to really desire to get after it the right way. And here you are after all those years winning and being one of the main guys. But let's talk a little bit about some of your teammates, though. Corey Hall really stepped up this weekend. We had not seen Corey Hall play that well on the D side. What did that mean to you to have your team? Because again, you're giving your teammates some praise. So let's give some of your teammates some praise. On that D side was incredibly crucial. Talk to me about Corey Hall's performance on that D side.
Dude, Corey Hall balls. That guy is phenomenal. He's always in a great mood. He's super committed, and I rely on him, and I trust him to the utmost. Watching the matches after I got home, I realized, because you're on the field, things are happening, and you're not always aware of what's going on, on the other side of the field. But he really stepped up all event, from hitting shots on the break to making it out on the break. It was a tough bunker to make, that Dorito side corner. That was another little zone of death towards the end of the event. And, just finding those gaps in the game, finding those moments where, it was his time to make a move or put somebody in it and move and shoot a guy out. Corey just, he stepped up huge. And I mean, from the time I started playing with him, I knew he's an extremely talented guy. He's one of the guys that I'm extremely proud of. And I'm lucky to have him on my team, as well as Thomas Kim. Thomas Kim stepped up huge. He didn't get a ton of the glory, throughout the matches, but that guy's an anchor. I mean, he hit his shots off the break so many times. That guy probably shot between Thomas Kim, Alex Rodriguez, and Nick Slowiak, those guys probably shot more people off the break than anybody on any other team this whole event. I mean, those guys are just phenomenal. And A-Rod, I mean, what do you say about a guy like that? He loves the game. He's a phenomenal paintball athlete, super passionate, super positive. And, I wouldn't be able to do the things on the field that I do without guys like Corey Hall or A-Rod, making big moves through the center of the field, catching people off guard, getting 1, 2, 3 kills on a run through. Playing with guys like that, that allows me to play to my full potential. Nick Slowiak, Thomas Kim, shooting guys off the break. That opens up the side of the field for me to go and get 2 or 3 kills, and end a game. So, like I said in the beginning of the interview, I'm extremely fortunate to have the players around me that allow me to play at my full potential. That's the tail of the tape, in my opinion.
Well, and what's interesting too is where do you guys go from here? Obviously, the Russians' impact. I really was impressed by Revo because they didn't have Dan Zaleski there, and Zupa really picked up the slack. Omara got into the snake. Trailer was in there occasionally. They had Omara and Trailer. They were kind of hard to scout because they didn't have a dedicated snake player. But I feel Revo could be a threat this year. Dynasty also looked outstanding in the prelims. Ended up obviously losing on Sunday, but Damage also looked pretty good. I thought AC. Again, if you go down the list and look at where these top teams are, if we're talking at X Factor at 8th and Heat not even in the top 10, top 8, that's a pretty crazy start to the year. And this is kind of this year came as advertised. When we were doing the pre-shows and looking at things, and we were kind of looking at how things could pop off in Vegas, we were definitely thinking, okay, well, we could see one of these teams, and we'd said this multiple times, like, all right, well, who knows? There's like a good 10 to 12 teams that have it, like maybe 8 teams that have a good chance at winning. There's like, 6 teams that have an excellent chance of winning. Maybe then 2 to 4 more that have a good chance of winning. And then after that, a couple more teams that have an outside chance at winning, at least to start things out. We'll see how things pick up because we got to throw Infamous in the mix. And so there's all these other teams out there that are right on the precipice of being a top team. And I think that we could see some mix-ups for the first time ever. Instead of having, the constantly you have the same teams that are in the top, 5 or 6. I think that we could see teams blow out and not make the top 8 like we did Heat. I mean, Heat lost in the wild card round, and they're our defending world title holders. So I think that we could see a pretty crazy year, again, God permitting, with all this stuff going on here. But what are your thoughts? I mean, you're obviously in the mix. You're in the hunt. You're in the trenches with these guys. You're throwing down against all these top snake players. You're now a top snake player based on your performance, and that's how it always works. What do you think, man?
I mean, like you said, the pro division is deep, and it's nice to listen to you and other guys commentate and talk about how everyone is really good. You could this team's doing well, this team they're not doing so well, but as a player, I can't really sleep on anyone. There are so many talented players in the pro division on every team. That's why they're in the pro division. I mean, you can argue for or against certain teams being in the pro division, but at the end of the day, everyone's capable, and that's something as a pro that you have to realize. And you can't take, this win for granted. You have to always think about the next thing. It's nice to take a day and reflect and, on your win and the first win in 10 years. And it's fantastic. But, if you want to maintain that success, you have to think about the next thing. You can't be complacent. And, you definitely can't take other teams for granted, lower ranked teams especially, because I know what it's like to play with nothing to lose, and that's dangerous. So, focus is the main thing. Staying focused, staying disciplined, and continuing to take the lessons that were learned and applying them, to the next tournament. So I think there's a ton of talent in the pro division. I think any given Sunday, right, anyone could win. So I just I have faith in my team. I have faith in myself, faith in the coaching staff and Die Paintball. And I think that as long as we stay focused on the next thing and stay disciplined, it could be a big year for us.
Well, man, it was fun to watch, and I'm expecting guys to win every single tournament from here on out. I'm expecting you to shoot 2 dudes per point that you play, and to never die.
Let's go.
And I'm also I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm not really expecting those things. But what I am expecting is what I've seen out of you every single day. Look, when I first met you, when I saw the mental tenacity that you took to the game when you were getting murdered playing on Aftershock and losing games, and then I remember seeing you and you were just kind of calm about it. You were almost, what's the term? You were kind of reflective about your situation, your place in the pro game at that time, what you wanted your game to be, what you were willing to put into making your game be better. And then now it was just, we don't get to see this a lot, man. We occasionally, guys will come in and they'll get to certain levels, but to see you and Corey particularly, like, look, Thomas Kim has played at a very high level before. I saw him murder people in Europe, and it's like once we see guys play at a certain, it's like Smotroff this past weekend. We were pretty critical about Smotroff's performance at this past weekend. Why? Because I've seen what you can do. I've seen what your level is when things are going your way. And again, as a front snake player, things are not always going to go your way. You're going to get shot off the break. It's going to happen. And I thought that Smotroff actually handled him getting shot off the break and early as much as he did pretty well. I mean, he wasn't walking off slow. He wasn't hitting the bunkers. He wasn't really showing a lot of emotion. And he did start to fix it a little bit, and he got a little bit better and played decent, but not to his level. But once we've seen somebody play at a certain level, then we expect that a little bit more frequently. And now it's like to see you play at the level, like you burst through a level. It's like in a video game. You upgraded. You literally moved. You leveled up. Corey leveled up. I mean, I've seen Corey have some outstanding low body situations, but I haven't seen him start on a top pro team, go all the way through the event, murder people, be in lose, die at some point in time, come back, and just stay composed and go and play aggressive and push down the field. So he leveled up. I've seen you do that. I've seen you be aggressive, but to go out there and constantly get those reps. And then that moment when you got shot a couple times and had to really have a moment for yourself as you were walking back out. And I just remember thinking, wow, I wonder what's going on in LJ's head. I know I mentioned this before, but then you picked it right back up and had some amazing points after that. So again, I'm going to expect you to play at a slightly higher level from now on. So I apologize if we're a little hypercritical, but you yourself hardcore. So in the deepest round you possibly could get. So we are going to expect that on a more frequent basis out of you and Corey. No, but it's just cool to see. But that's what's possible. That's what's possible. And this is why I wanted, when we were talking about people to get on the show, I was like, I've had Corey on the show. We've had A-Rod on the show. We got to get Parrish on the show because this is what's possible, man. I mean, if you work hard enough, one day a Sunday will roll around. I said this in the goddamn Heroes for a Day or Sunday Drivers or whatever. If you work hard enough, one day will roll around. You'll be with your hand in, and then that gets to be your day, and you get to be the hero for the day. You were one of the big heroes for the Ironman this past weekend. It was impressive. And the team finally won. Again, the team that was ranked 10th overall ended up winning the event, thus hitting kind of a giant reset. Sure, Impact answered a lot of questions. And again, we'll have a bunch of shows coming up to the next event where we're going to talk about all this. We're going to bring guys on for different teams and have these discussions. But, it's just kind of, I think, a new day for pro paintball in the sense that there's a lot of teams that have an opportunity out there. So you can kind of write your own future in the pro league if you're in the top, I'd say 12 teams. And for those pro teams down there, they're like, oh, he's not giving us a fair shake. We got a chance. Prove it to me. Let me see it. Let me see what you got. You proved it to me right in the past couple years. No one knew if you had what it took to play as the first starter, as the first attacker on a pro team that's going to win an event. But you did that. You proved it to yourself, to your teammates, to your coach, to your sponsors, and to any ever hater that ever said you couldn't do this at this level. Well, you just did it. You achieved, it's like, check. All right, well, be a boss, almost win an MVP award, and murder everyone on the snake side and win a tournament. Yeah, check. So it's pretty cool, man. I'm really happy for you. What did you like? Just before we go, I got a couple more questions. One, what else did you see out there? Was there anyone that you think that you, as far as your opponents were concerned, that you were impressed by? You could even give more shout outs to your own team. I just kind of want to get your reflection upon the moment, upon the tournament, just because there are so many different teams, that there's so many different stories out here. And we got 4 more events, and all these guys are going to try to knock you off your pedestal. So who do you think is going to come for it at the next event?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. There are so many good teams. I mean, we were ranked 10th coming in, and all the teams inside of that top 10 are phenomenal. And I mean, I guess it could be layout dependent. Some teams are better at locking a field down. Some teams are better at being aggressive. I was really impressed with a lot of the snake players. I'm really impressed with some of the guys up the center of the field, like Kirill. He played really well. I was impressed with, Keith Brown played the snake really well. I mean, it could come from anywhere. It just depends on what the field layout situation is, what the nuances of the field are, and how that, caters itself to team strengths and weaknesses. I mean, really, it could go either way. I was a little surprised at how certain teams didn't execute on this field. I thought maybe certain teams would play it a little bit better than they actually did, but it's the first event. Who knows? But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just really happy that we got the trophy. That trophy's sitting at Die. We got the first win of the year, and I'm really proud of my teammates. I mean, we all came together after people kind of had written us off at the end of last year, losing, the guys that we've lost. But I'm really excited for the future, for 2020 to play out. Hopefully we get to play all 5 events. That would be really awesome. And man, I'm stoked. I'm excited for the future.
Well, hey, even if things get crazy, and I think as far as I know, from behind the scenes stuff, I think we are going to be going to Texas. Worst case scenario though, man, they've been saying we need to kind of keep the spectators down. We don't need the spectators there. I just need the teams to go. We can bring all of our crew, turn all the cameras on, and we can have a tournament. There's just not going to be necessarily spectators there, but it's definitely possible. But yeah, man, I just haven't met you a couple years ago, and the way that things were shaking out with you coming on the Ironman and seeing the Ironman be terrible for so long. And yeah, a lot of people did write you guys off. Not a lot of people even thought you would make Sunday, let alone win the tournament. Though most people did say they thought that the Ironman would be better than they were in 2019 and 2020. I don't think anybody was thinking you guys would win the tournament. People would think it was going to take some time. And I think that makes sense, just because logically bringing new guys on the team, a bunch of new changeovers, some new stars come on, some experience. It's going to take a little bit of time, but just again, the big chip that was on every single guy on that starting 5 had a chip on their shoulder, and they made the most of their time. And then every guy that came out to get reps, because if you look at your scores, okay, first of all, you only lost 1 game, and that was to Revo. That was by 3. You beat X Factor twice. You beat the brakes off
in the dark. That was kind of
in the dark. Yes, the loss to Revo was in the dark. So there is a little bit of an excuse there, but we do not like excuses. So you guys did lose. They beat you. It is what it is. But redemption happened, because when you played them in the light in the semifinals, you guys did win by 3. And then when you guys came back the next day and you guys had to play the game after a pause, things were looking pretty good for you because you started to rally some points. So the only weakness that you guys actually had the entire event was in the dark on that first day at night. And that was it, because you guys beat X Factor by 3. Dark game happened, ended up losing that one by 3. You beat absolute just breaks off in New York Extreme. Mercy ruled them, beat up the Outlaws 9-4. That's one of the highest scoring games of the event. Then you guys beat X Factor by 2 in the quarterfinals. You get redemption against Revo by 3, 7-4. And then you guys beat the Russians. And just the way that that game was going, the fact that you were playing the Russians and the fact that you guys were seizing the initiative and that you guys had that lead pretty much the whole time. Crazy event, man. If I was putting odds on it, I mean, if this was Vegas, and it was Vegas, but if the sports books had some bets on the Ironman, could have won some really good money, because there was not a lot of people thinking you guys were going to make Sunday, let alone win the event. So that has got to feel good inside, that you guys proved to the world that not only can you win a paintball tournament, but you can do it in one of the deepest years that we've ever had. So that, again, that just sets the stage moving forward. All right, man. But anyway, dude, Parrish, LJ, I'm so impressed, man. I really am. It was such a pleasure to see you play your best paintball. It's been such a pleasure to see you tear up. You have merged to another level. You are now elite. So I'm going to expect a lot more out of you as things move forward. Don't disappoint me.
As you should.
But no, it was awesome, dude. It really was. So before we sign off, anything else you want to say? Anything you want to talk about? What do you think, man? Who do you have to thank after this amazing?
I definitely want to thank Dye Paintball. Thank you for always supporting and being there for us, providing everything, all the fantastic equipment, the M3 Plus, the R2 loader, I5 mask, everything worked flawlessly. GI Paint, GI Sports, the GI Paint this weekend was phenomenal. Let's see, Victory Paintball Park. Thank you to Fran and Nikki for, literally having the best paintball field practice facility that anybody could hope to play on. Thank you to Todd for giving me the opportunity to be on the Ironman. To my teammates for, flawless performance. All the dye techs, those guys are always there fixing everything that breaks, whether it's our fault or, somebody else's fault. It doesn't matter. They're there to fix it all the time. Thanks, to Go Sports for providing this platform for people to watch, paintball. You guys for commentating, and you guys do a fantastic job at that. And to the NXL for, allowing us to have a global event that we can compete in. That's phenomenal. So anybody else that I met, thank you to my wife for allowing me to play still. She's my biggest support system, and to my parents who are my biggest fans. I love them to death, and without my wife and my family, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, again, congratulations. And because I've started to get to know you, I am going to be expecting excellence out of you every single time. So I'm just warning you, if you're not, it went from you doing it 6 or 5 times out of 10. Now, if you're not doing it 7 or 8 times out of 10, I'm like, well, we're just not seeing out of Parrish what we have seen in the past here, because we know what he can do. He's obviously one of the elite snake players right now. So I've just, again, man, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for the team. Nobody thought you guys could do this. No, we were wondering who was going to be the starter on the snake side. So not only did you become that guy, but your starting 5 across the board was just outstanding. We'll probably have a couple more of the starting 5 on the show here as we move forward. But, man, again, congratulations, LJ. You're definitely a scholar and a gentleman. I always love talking to you. Big shout out to your awesome family.
Thanks, man.
Stay safe out there with all this craziness going on right now. We are going to be having some more shows coming at you. And then depending on how things shake out, we'll keep you guys updated, obviously. But definitely at least 1 show next week, maybe 2. We're going to be breaking down all these results from the first event, because there has been so much chaos. Also, if you want to keep up to date and kind of keep the storylines in your head, go back and check out 5 Sundays, as the 5 Sundays from last year. All 5 you can check out on Go Sports right now. Yeah, man, the 2020 season has begun. Just kind of crossing my fingers and hoping this coronavirus doesn't ruin everything for us. But stay safe out there. Wash your hands. Stuck up on your toilet paper and load your bullets. Anyway, but stay sane, because this is not the zombie apocalypse. Again, LJ, congratulations. Yeah. And I'm definitely expecting big things from you in the Los Angeles Ironmen moving forward. You are the #1 team, bro. So congratulations. And thank you so much for sitting down with me. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
done.
Remember that shit. Remember that, boy. Remember this.
We will get better, but we gotta work on ourselves first.